Hello, hello, hello. This is Rockin the Love. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and we are excited to be here today. We got lots going on. How is everybody today?
On this last Wednesday in November.
Oh, in November. Oh my gosh, the last Wednesday. That means we are sliding fast towards 2024.
It's so true. 2024. I was going to go, no, not 2024. 2024. It happened so fast. So we're together. Woo-hoo.
We're here at the San Diego studios today, enjoying ourselves. We have another few hours together before I hit the road back to Albuquerque, which I'm excited about getting back to when I can. But we've had a good time here. How's your week been?
It's been good. It's so interesting that Thanksgiving happened during this week. It seems like so long ago.
Did you expect it to happen during another week? Yeah.
Time is just a weird thing. Anyway, let us know you're out there. Let us know how your Thanksgiving was, how your week has been, where you're tuning in from. And we're very excited today to have our guest, Bonnie Gonzales, who is amazing on many counts. However, you may know her show on New Thought Media Network, where she is a grief coach, a grief doula, and she is very steeped in her knowledge around grief. And we thought it'd be interesting to have a conversation with her during this time of year because it seems to creep in. If it's out there lingering, it creeps in, especially at the holidays. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Welcome, John. So good to have you here. My buddy John from Oakland, California.
Yeah, Oakland's popular today.
Yeah.
That's where Bonnie's coming from today, too. All right.
Yeah, but speaking of a fast week, I miss my little tradition with John of going out after Thanksgiving to the sale and sitting in Berkeley and having coffee at Pete's and chit-chatting and looking at the lights. So we'll have to do it virtually in our minds. Anyway, but that's not true. I'll be there in a couple of weeks, so we'll see you then. Anyway, and so let us know you're there. And my week, how was my week? You know, y'all have heard us talk often about teenagers, and we still have them. So that pretty much answers how my week is. It's been very lively. You know, I've always really respected parenthood, you know, but it's no joke. I mean, it is no joke. I started like going through in my mind, was I ever really like them? You know, I know that everybody has a skewed view of how they were and how good they were as opposed to someone else. But I really don't think I had the desire or the energy or the time to do what they do.
Yeah, I hear you. I definitely remember being a jerk, but not a totally out there dismissive, I don't care what anyone else thinks person.
Yeah. So the short version of our week, just so you all are caught up, is that where do you start? We got up on one morning and heard our car Sunday morning and heard our car.
Our app went off on our phone.
The app on our phone went off for our car. That tells us like when our car needs air pressure or if it's moving, when we get in the car. So like, you know, if somehow I lose Gil, I know where he is because I can look on the app and see where the car is. So it went off and I went, that's our car app, because there's been times when we didn't do it and we just went, no big deal. And we sort of learned our lesson from that the last time because Gil's car was getting towed. However, this time, long story short, the 14-year-old wanted to go to the beach, so he took the car. Good times. Yeah, that was a new development. He had never driven. He does not have a license. He does not know how to drive. He did not ask for the car. As a matter of fact, he said he was going to take the dog for a run.
Wait, he said he knew how to drive? He said he drove fine.
Yeah, right after he said, it's no big deal. Driving a big car is easier than driving a little car, because he was driving my SUV. So that's how my week has been. It's been very unpredictable, rolling with the punches, being in the moment. Not a whole lot of like kicking back and relaxing around things, because there's been drama at every turn. So, but that was definitely a new development and a highlight in this growth spurt. Gil always says, if you could, as a parent, if you can keep them alive until they're 18, that's your only job. So I'm kind of adapting that and living into it. I know, all spirituality aside, I'm sure there's nothing spiritual in that. Well,
there is.
Yeah.
You got to trust spirit till they're 18. That's what you got to do. And then you got to trust even more.
It's true. It's true. So that's my week. How's your week?
Well, my week is somewhat similar.
But let me just add, he has been grounded until next year, right? Oh, no. Here, I'll get spiritual for you. There is no time and space. He has been told that he will not get a license until he's old enough to go out and get the license by himself after he leaves the house. So he's so grounded that he should be chained to our ankle right now. There's no next year.
Did you ever do the saying when you were in like junior high where they'd say, I'm going to cut you down so low, you're going to have to look up to see down? That's kind of where he is in the grounding process.
That's funny.
That's what we used to say. Yeah. So, so it's been interesting. Well, I actually drove here we drove here together. Robyn had come out to Albuquerque. We did our last show from Albuquerque. And then on Thursday, we went to Thanksgiving dinner with everyone at Rio Grande, CSL. And we had a fine time. It was fun to be with the community and hang out. Fun. And then we jumped in the car and we headed this way. So then we had a drive and we got here. And there's been some fun. It's been beautiful here. It's just been interesting to drive around and see some of the city. Not exactly the way I expected, but we have gotten to drive around and see some of the city. And it's been good. And we are in the last throes of switching our stuff back and forth between cars, because I'm going to leave one here and take the other one. So it's good.
It's all good. It's all good. And the best part about the holidays now is knowing that I'll see you in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
I bought a train ticket for Christmas Eve day, so I can be at Sunday celebration in the morning, and I can be on a train on my way here in the afternoon and be here for Christmas. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that is fun. So that's good. So all in all, it's a good week. Everyone's safe. While they may not be happy, but they're safe. Nobody got hurt, which was the most important thing. And I neglected to say in that story, he not only took the car once, but he took it 3 times that morning. We just got in on the 3rd time. So everybody's safe, which is a miracle in itself, because he drove over 4 miles around. And
the last time he drove 4 miles.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's just, it's all a thank God situation. So that makes it a good week, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So when we come back.
Wait a minute. Don't we have any good news today? Don't we want to do that before we come back?
Before we go, we are going to do our good news segment.
All right.
All right.
You have a good news for us?
I do. Do you?
I do.
Tell me.
Oh, I got to go first. All right.
You always go.
So I know. That's why I thought we could shake it up.
No shaking.
No shaking. All right. So I found a little interesting piece of good news that in Sweden they have developed, and it's now tested and headed for production and going to be used, a fully electric hydrofoil boat to move people around like a ferry kind of thing. And it's able to go 35 miles an hour. I don't remember how many knots that is, but that's how many miles an hour it is. And it can go fairly far enough to handle transporting back and forth across the water where they need it to work in Stockholm. And it's fully electric. And I thought that was pretty cool. It's the first one that's ever been built that would operate that way.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Makes me excited about getting the electric car. We just switch cars. I get the electric one and he gets the gas one.
Yeah, I got the plug set up. We're all good here now.
It's so true. Okay. Mine is about a Good Samaritan in the UK who was surprising strangers with kindness every day for 3 years. And he has been crowned a UK hero with a statue. And his name is Sebi Hall, and he was 17 years old when he started this. And he decided to dedicate his life to helping others. And it took only 3 years for the nation to recognize him as a hero and the UK's kindest person. So he works tirelessly to help others, and he's founded his own charity to encourage others to follow his lead, which helps vulnerable youngsters. And during his 3 years of work, he donated 400 coats and blankets to homeless. And he gifted over 800 toys to children's homes, and even used his own pocket money during his teens to pay for strangers' coffees. And now he's 20, and he actually has a rare disease, like a chromosome anomaly. And he started spreading the kindness and doing these deeds after lockdown or during lockdown, and discovering that his friends and classmates didn't have computers. So first he thought, I'll donate my computer. And then he thought, well, that won't help everybody. So he started earning money so that he could buy each of them computers. And that's how it all got started.
Wow.
So now he has a statue, and it's down in the Tower Bridge in London, and it's next to like Captain Cook and Winston Churchill and all kinds of heroes.
Wow.
So it's
Very
like
cool.
a 6-foot statue. So I think that's super cool. And, super cool that he was 17. And
Well, yeah, but he does have a rare disease with a chromosome that's off, so that may explain it. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
that was so politically incorrect.
Was it?
All right. I'm going to try to heal him while we take a break.
My producer's saying yes.
Get ready to talk to our guest, Bonnie Gonzales, when we get back right here on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please Come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, hello, hello. I am Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and I apologize to anyone who I may have offended accidentally. I apologize.
This is Rockin the Love, and we are always rocking the love, so we're sending love out to anyone who may have been offended.
Or not. You don't have to be offended to get the love.
It wasn't intentional. He's just sensitive to teenagers right now. Anyway, I want to welcome Carlos San Moreno, and anyone else who's out there watching that hasn't said hello, 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 hello. Bienvenidos. Thank you so much for coming. We're so happy to have you here. I also want to share, before we bring out our guest, Bonnie Gonzalez, I want to share that I know I talked a little bit last week about donations. And if you're interested in donating to New Thought Media Network, and I had a question asked about how do I get my name up on that banner that has all the donors. And what I found out was, if you make a steady donation monthly, and it doesn't matter the size, whether it's $1,000, $100, $5, if you make it monthly as a deductible out of your bank account, that quarterly they change that sign, which is coming up in December, and your name will magically appear up there as a donor. So if that is fuel to your fire, then get your name up there in lights, because why not, right? You're helping us help others, and we really appreciate anything that you can do. So that's my say on that. And there's a donate button on newthoughtmedianetwork.org or something.
Just up there.
Whatever he had up there was the truth, because my producer, Michael Magnus, is a truth teller. So whatever he puts up there, believe it. All right. Want to welcome Sherry. Hello, Sherry out there. Glad that everybody's here. And it is now my pleasure and honor to introduce Bonnie Gonzalez. Bonnie, come on out. Bonnie is, she's an amazing being. She has been a nurse for many years and now specializing in grief.
Yeah, that's my main jam, as I call it. That's what gets all my burners fully lit, is talking about grief. And I know you say, oh my gosh, Bonnie, how can you feel that way around grief? it's because grief is just another human emotion. It's another part of the human experience. And I feel that if I can embrace it that way, then I can go full throttle and embracing life, even the good times. So, and just to say that, we can hold both. We can hold intense sadness, depression, downness, as well as ecstasy, joy, and bliss. And I feel that if we're not suppressing any of that, any of the negative, if we don't suppress that, not realizing that if you're suppressing that, you're expressing the capacity to which you could hold even more joy, more love, more light. So I say embrace it all because it feeds each other. That darkness really does feed the light coming in. So that's why I can say that. I just really feel that grief has gotten a bad rap in our society.
Yeah, you're reminding me of a quote right now that I read that said something like, so it's true that grief is the price we pay for love.
Yes.
Mm.
And I've also heard, Robyn, I love that, the price we pay for love. And I've also heard some express it as grief is just love with nowhere to go, with nowhere to place it. And if we're speaking of, death and dying, but I'll get back to that. I'll just say this. If we're speaking of death and dying, when we say that with grief is love with no place to go, grief is the price of having loved. Even though we lose our loved ones physically in that physical form, but do you realize that love still grows on that spiritual level and on that emotional level? It still grows. So if we look at it with that, it's like we're just still loving. We're just still loving. And being okay with that we still love. We just love.
So here we are in the busiest holiday time season of the year, and I love our title about grief doesn't take a day off. And I know this is the time when people try to stay up even when they're feeling down. So, excuse me. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, why not? Why not? If you think about it, the days have gotten shorter. Nights are longer. The weather is colder. So it's only natural. It's a natural cycle of life that we slow down, we go inward. But with these holidays coming, forces us opposite. There's no time to slow down. I was talking to a young person, I don't know what it was the other day, and it's a young child. And they just said, oh, well, now that Thanksgiving is over, we were saying happy Thanksgiving. Well, what did we say now? And I said, now we say happy holidays. It's because there's so many holidays that are coming up. There's Hanukkah, there's Christmas, there's Kwanzaa, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And someone even said the Super Bowl was considered a high holy holiday. But anyway, so it's like we are in this period where we're expected to be on really for the next month or two at full throttle, when our normal lives have not slowed down. People still have jobs, commitments, children, things that have to happen. And now you're adding this other layer of really grand expectation, really high energy. And I don't know about you, but I don't feel any extra infusion of energy just because they've said it's the holidays. So that was the reason that I really wanted to talk about this, that, grief just doesn't take a day off. If you're going to send out invitations, I think you should send one to grief, because it's going to show up, invited or uninvited. So why not let's invite it? Or better yet, why not just expect, be at, I want to say at peace, at ease, but just know that grief will come up. If you can be ready for that, get ready in your own special way. Someone talked about getting through these holidays and, self-care. And the first thing we think of self-care is that massage business. It's like, come on now, we can do better than that. Self-care is, yes, a massage is wonderful. I'll take one right now. But self-care is really turning inward, looking at self and saying, what do I need right now? What is it? It's a busy time. What do I need? Oh, I need a housekeeper to come by and clean the house. Or I need somebody that can help me. Maybe if you have gifts, help me wrap gifts. Looking at delegating other things. If you've always been the one to take certain, maybe take on certain responsibilities at the holiday, maybe share that to lighten your load a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah,
That's a great tip. And I'm just thinking that I feel like I did that during Thanksgiving, because it came the day to cook and we had gotten all this food, but nobody had talked about who was cooking. And I already knew who would end up cooking. And so like, I really though feel like I was like, all right, look, I'm doing the turkey and that's it. My job is the turkey. There's all these other sides and all these things to do. But I was really clear, like I didn't have it in me to do all of it, and so it was great. It was great. I mean, everybody jumped in and did what everybody did. But I mean, I'm just acknowledging that I could see where that really makes a difference if you're able to be clear and voice what you need. And what do you do when you can't voice what you need or you don't know what you need? Right? That's your question.
Oh, I think I heard you say, what happens when you can't?
Right, when you can't voice what you need or you're not sure what you need.
Oh, not clear with what you need. This is where, think about it. We are social creatures. And that means not being in isolation. And if you're at that place of, I don't know what I need, what I want, I don't know what I want to do, I want this to be over. That's when you need a friend. You need a friend that you can talk to. You need someone, and if you don't have a friend that you can talk to, then look for a support group. If you don't have that support group, therapy is always there. But I really feel that I know we're social creatures, and having a friend, having someone that we can talk to about where we are. I don't know if you've had this happen, where you're feeling just really burdened, like you don't know what to do, and just, and you talk to a friend, and even though the friend hasn't said, oh, I'll take on that responsibility, that I'll do X, Y, and Z, but just that they listened, and you can say afterwards, wow, I really do feel so much better now that I've gotten that off my chest, now that I've had it witnessed by someone. And I think, Robyn, you bring up a beautiful point. I think there are so many people that are saying just what you're saying. You don't know what you want. You don't know what it is you don't know what it is that's there. And I think that's nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to be ashamed of to say you don't know. And do be careful, though, who you do choose to talk to. You want that supportive person somebody that will listen. And those statements of, oh, get over that, or what's wrong with you, snap out of it, are not effective if we're the listener. If you have someone that's saying exactly what Robyn's saying, I don't know what I want. So just being heard, just being witnessed, just being witnessed.
So Bonnie, do you find that people are often surprised by the grief that shows up, particularly around holidays, around special times?
I'm not finding people being surprised so much as, what is the word I'm looking for? A sense of like weariness, not quite knowing what to do, because they are feeling something. And they, if anything, they want a place to go to be able to talk. They want to be able to talk. And not maybe having the tools to know how to start the conversation. But I'm finding that more so than being surprised. It's just like, wow, where can I take this to? You know, they say 'tis the season to be jolly. And I'm not feeling jolly. Who wants to hear that, jolliness? So I just say, set the place at the table for grief. I know that sounds, just set that place and know that it will show up. And if it doesn't show up, that's okay. But if you're prepared, if you can be prepared, just in your mental processes of knowing that, yes.
I heard an interesting, take on all of this, and that has to do with how your brain functions. And, when we, for instance, lose a loved one, and we get up in the morning and we always have coffee with them, and they're gone, we experience that grief, and over a period of time, we start to feel better about it. We know they're not going to be there. It's okay. We're going to talk to them through the air. We're going to do whatever we need to do, and it gets better. And all of a sudden, we hit their birthday or Christmas, and it's all there again. And the thought is that, our neural pathways are formed by repetition. And so when you hit a once a year item, a once a year time frame, all of a sudden that particular event, you haven't grieved yet. You haven't grieved the loss, whatever the loss is around that, the loss of family, the loss of a parent, traditions, whatever it is. And then it shows up. And that's kind of what I was saying about, people sometimes feel like, well, what am I doing wrong? I've been doing fine. Why is this hitting me now?
Yes, I'd love to speak to that. There's some scientific studies that were done with those poor little rats in a lab, unfortunately, where they separated them from their partners and they didn't come back. And what the study, it was in a roundabout way, but what it brought or made clear was that when we're talking about grieving, and especially talking about the memory of loved ones at holidays, is that there is a yearning. That's what it is. You are yearning for that person's presence. You're yearning for, as Robyn said, that tradition. It's the yearning. And that is a part of grief. And when we talk about not moving on from grief, but moving forward with it, allowing certain yearnings to know that those yearnings will not go away. For instance, and I told Robyn this last year when she was on my program, Your Doula for Grief, we talked about my mother was born on Christmas Day. So, and my mom died 7 years ago now. And do you know, I already am feeling that sadness around not having her on Christmas Day. that sense of yearning to have her back, to, with all of her idiosyncrasies of, demanding happy birthday first over Christmas, or demanding that she has those 2 presents. So that is yearning. And that is something that does not go away. It may be less one year, and the next year it may be even stronger. I think that the acceptance and the knowing of the structure, I'll say structure of grief. And it's because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. So therefore, each time it's like, this foreigner that has shown up. It's like, oh, are you here again? So I want to say that yearning will be there, especially during the holidays. And especially the closer you were, the more traditions you shared. And if you can find a way that you will, that's when ceremony comes in. That's when rituals come in. So, rituals are so important during this time. So many of our traditions, our faith traditions, have ritual to give us back that sense of control, that sense of, in that moment of all is right. And I feel like I'm filling the airways with words. And so I want to take a breath and give you both a chance to ask a question. I was having a little problem. I'm trying to remember to mute. So I'm going to mute and breathe and go for it.
Go.
Well, I know that there's people out there, with questions. And so if you have any questions, we welcome that you put them in the chat, and let us know. And it's interesting that you're saying this, because I'm thinking about, like, even my mom, who I lost when I was 17, I still grieve her, and I still, there's times when, I grieve her. I think not only based on the experiences that we had, like the Christmases and the birthdays and those things, but I grieve her in a made up way that, like, if she was here, I would want to ask her this, or I would want to. So it's like, I think we make up, it's not even really makeup, or is it makeup? I guess that's a question. Is it? But we create these situations that that keep our loved ones alive on some level, and I think it's also my my version of talking to her and bringing her into my consciousness, or my realm, or my, somewhere in my being, of feeling like she is there contributing on some level. So, I don't know. I don't know. Does grief always go away?
Does grief go away? Does joy go away? Does happiness go away? They come, they go.
Right.
I feel that grief comes and goes. Grief has its, there's the 5 stages of grief, but I don't like to really highlight that too much, because grief is where we are. You may be in sadness, depression, anger. Grief is just grief. But there are stages that you go through of grief. And then there is that, I call it intensity levels of grief. There's the time when someone was asking me to get in touch with this person that had just lost 2 people in their family. And I said, and she said, oh, and can you call her and coach her and, just really, help her get back to normal. And I said, she's in that stage of grief that she's in shock, denial. There is no rational thoughts that are happening that can even penetrate at this point, because the brain is trying to incorporate this. I think I've said this before, that grief is exhausting because, scientifically it showed that 10% of your brain is being used to process whatever that loss is. And I would like to maybe take this a step further at this time to say that, loss is what we experience, grief is what we feel. And we're talking about death. That is the biggest loss that you will experience in a lifetime, in any lifetime. But there are also other losses. Loss, oh my goodness, this time of the year, loss of hopes and dreams. People
Well,
start.
I was just going to say, Kevin just joined us. Reverend Kevin Cottle, who you know, and he says, "Hi, Bonnie. Grieving dreams lost." And yeah, it's such a great question. I was thinking about that preparing for the show, but how many things do we grieve that aren't necessarily human, like our dreams, our ideas, our hopes?
Well,
Yes.
I would extend that to our experience just over the last few weeks, is that sense of loss, that sense of grief around what we had hoped for the kids and how their lives would be and what we could help them do. And, and then you have to go, well, at least for now, there seems to be, that's not happening. We're not able to do that. And so there's a loss there, so I realized, it just struck me how much I think there's grieving going on in our household in this moment.
Yes, because there's a loss when there's especially a geographical move. You lose your day-to-day normalcy. There's friendships that are lost. Maybe we still maintain the connection, but the depth or the connection is severed in a sense. I won't say severed, but has shifted, has changed. So there's that loss that has nothing to do with a death. Loss, I call it loss of a lifestyle. I've been here in the Bay Area, away from my home in Mexico, for a few months now, and I really am feeling it. I call it homesick, but just really grieving my familiar day-to-day surroundings. So we can be in grief around a myriad of losses. And could I read something to you from, do you know, her name is Sobanfu Somé? Does she ring a bell? She's where is she from? Senegal, I believe. But she does a lot of spirituality, or she did a lot of spirituality teachings from the West African traditions. And in that tradition where she's from, her village, when anyone had a loss of any kind, it was like everyone gathered around to support that person because they felt that, grief has not come to Bali, but they would say, grief has found us, realizing that it's a collective experience to grieve together. So I just like what she has to say around grief, and I'll just read this briefly. She says, we experience lots of emotions, joy and sadness. And many times we have grief that we don't have words for. We have many losses, and it's important for us to grieve, to recover from what we lost. She goes on to say, grieving is a soul cleansing way to reclaim and to recover our spirit. When we don't grieve, we stay in an unhealthy place and lose who we are. So it is very important to try to walk in nature, to express our grief so that we can feel safe and sane once again. And also so our bodies can recover from the loss. And I just thought that was so well put, because there's so many incidences of people not grieving and then having physical illnesses that manifest from that.
Yeah, I
And
think that's, sorry. I was just going to say, I think that's true. And going back to what Kevin had asked about or said about loss of a dream, I mean, I'm thinking about just those situations, that we tend to internalize because it's not a death of a person. So therefore it's a different category. It's something, that we have on our own. It's
You
not,
ought to be, because it's not that big a deal.
right. In quotes, we
Yeah.
ought to be able to handle it. We should have known better. We should have thought that, whatever,
We
however,
knew that could happen.
yeah, however that goes down, and we tend, I think they get lost in there, and then they show up again when you're trying to accomplish something, or when you have another dream, or and it stops you.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, Robyn, have you ever had say something that you were grieving, whatever, some disappointment over a loss, and you keep revisiting it, and you say, why can't I get over that? Why can't I stop thinking about that? And I think it's back to what Simone Somé says, is that we do have to grieve it. We do have to let it, for lack of a better word, have its way with us. We have to just examine it. And those people that, just studies show, those people that allow themselves to really fall into a period of deep grief recover from that grief faster than those that don't. Those that don't keep revisiting it and revisiting it and revisiting it. And the same author says, or says that in their culture, what they would say, like we say, oh, aren't you over that yet? Haven't you gotten over it? She says what they would say to a person is, have you cried enough over that loss? Have you, wrung your hands enough? Have you wailed enough? So if we think about it in that way, that it revisits us, because it does want a little more of our attention. And this will be another show, okay? But I was going to say the transformative power of grief, once you do lean more into grief, that it does have messages, it does have, gifts that it can bring. It's not all
So Bonnie,
battle.
I had a picture when you said let it go, that in a way we have this idea that letting go means we ignore it and we push it aside. And I just had this picture of, somebody wrestling grief and letting go and allowing grief to do whatever it was going to do and allow it to run its course and let go of my need to control the outcome. And then that's actually how I can let it go over time, which maybe I'll cry enough. Maybe I'll do whatever.
Oh, I love that. And when you said that, Gil, when you said, wrestling with it, I had this image of you like wrestling with a tiger, and you finally let go, like just let the tiger have its way with me. Maybe the tiger will lick you clean of whatever is there, what gets, strips away some old beliefs, some old ideas, and unearth something new, a shiny and new. Yeah. So yeah, I think you should make a little cartoon drawing of that, of this, tiger licking someone clean and saying, this is what grief wants to do. It wants to just help you see deeper who you are, on a deeper level, who you truly are.
And I think also what I'm getting from this is that also grief wants, like the same image of the cartoon and the wrestling. I have this image of grief wanting to take you, like to be your safari leader and take you on this adventure. and take you to new places. Like I'm thinking, you know, I know we've talked about death, and obviously that's the first thing that comes up for most people when we talk about grief or loss. And then the loss of an idea or a dream, you know, different jobs or different, you know, things we thought were going to happen in our life. But I'm even thinking about, like, and I'm going to use us as an example. Oh, yay. But I'm thinking about, this is like a joke Gil and I have, that he doesn't always think is funny. But when we moved to Northern California and he was trying to convince me to move, and he was like, come on, it'll be fun, and we'll do this and we'll do that, and we'll go see theater in the city and blah, blah, blah. And so I always say to him, like theater in the city, because we never went to see theater in the city in the 11, 12 years that we were there, 12 years. And I'm thinking, like, because that's what came up for me when you were talking about grief. I was like, really? We're talking about very serious things here, and you're talking about theater, and on some level. But I mean, I'm thinking this is what happens in people's marriages, right? Because you have ideas of what should happen and what could happen and what you promised and what we vowed to do, and when it doesn't happen, if one person is holding on to it in that way, then it becomes what it becomes, you know? And so I'm thinking, like, do I really need to grieve that? Or do I really need to just kick his butt and buy theater tickets and make him go with me? You know what I mean? And go, okay, you said, and now we're doing it. I mean, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying, because what I was realizing is even that little thing could turn into a big thing if I'm holding on to it going, well, he never does this, and he said he would, and that means he doesn't love me like he said, or whatever. That's not what I'm doing. That was just a dramatization. But, and I understand how people get there. You know what I mean? And how those little things become like the big, meaningful, pivotal things that make people are a catalyst for the rest of it, for divorce or separation or whatever, fights, or, you know, in relationships.
Right, Robyn. Oh, I was getting, you know, this is like psychotherapy time or whatever around the tickets. It's like, are you really disappointed that the theater didn't happen or that a promise was broken? And that's something you guys can discuss further. You know, is it really the ticket or, but I'm saying that that you helped me bring a point about. It's like knowing that I'm going into this time and I can just feel it, this, you know, sadness around my mom's birthday. If I can identify that, you know, sadness around that birthday and yearning for her, when I don't go there, then like the least thing that happens, what Tito didn't get the turkey bought, or what do you mean you didn't pick up what I asked you? You know, it gets deflected to something else. It gets projected on to something else. That's why we owe it to ourselves to examine what we're feeling and to be honest about it. If it's around grief, loss of those hopes and dreams that just came up, and you know, death of a person, or being in a in a different place geographically, and you can't go to your favorite restaurant. So yeah, just awareness of our emotions.
So unbelievably, it is almost time for us to end, and I want to give you.
No, it can't be.
Right? We will have to do the transformative power of grief in next month or something, because there's so much happening here. However, I want you to wrap it up by at least giving some tips or some ideas of what people can do during this time, or what you would like to leave them with. And Kevin says, Trust Bonnie Part 2 happens soon. Okay, we'll make Bonnie Part 2 happen soon.
Yes, hey Robyn, I would love to do a show on grief as a new beginning for the holiday, for the new year.
For the new
Grief
year.
is a new beginning. Grief
Okay,
is
done.
clearing you out for new delight.
Okay, we'll have Bonnie back. Grief is a new beginning coming up in December. All right, or January. Okay, so and I want to welcome Judith. Thanks for tuning in, Judith. So Bonnie, what would you like to leave people with? What is, if you had to give them one thing to take away during this season, what would that be?
Oh, that is so easy. That this season is about you. It's not about anybody or anything. There's nothing more important than you. Honoring you, checking in with you every day as we move through this holiday period. Saying to yourself, what do I want today? If you received invitations from, now we're doing it electronically, but if you receive invitations, sit with it a minute and say, is this what I want to do? Is this where I want to go? Please leave the word should out, but just being honest with you. Saying, that's not what I want to do. Thank you so much. Being true to you. And if you're true to you, and if you're having compassion for yourself, it is so much easier then to be compassionate with others. And just welcome grief as the gift that it is to your life. So thank you. That's making you.
Beautiful.
Thank you both. I just want to say I am just overjoyed to be with you both. You both are so entertaining and delightful. I was getting caught up in the stories of your lives, and just loving hearing how teenagers really keep us in the moment. If you think about it, they keep us in the moment, living in the moment. And that's what that's what I ask you to do for this holiday. Live in the moment, not necessarily with a teenager, but remember to stay in the moment, because in this moment, all is perfect and all is well in this moment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. And I want to leave you with this quote by Irving Berlin. The song is ended, but the melody lingers on. That's what I feel in our loss of people in our lives, and dreams and hopes and ideas.
And we would be less without the melody. It enriches our lives. And thank you so much, Bonnie, for being with us. This has been a great time. Thank you, everyone who joined us on the show. We appreciate it. And I think for me, the big thing is it just brings to light the idea that we don't always acknowledge what our real feelings are. And I think we're having grief and we're having other things more often, if you will, than we realize. And if we'll allow it to be what it is and not fight it, we can feel it, experience it, and allow it to move on, and allow ourselves to move on.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And along that note, I just want to send love out to the Carter family this week on the passing of Rosalind Carter, and just send love out to them, because I feel like Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter are people that have sent love out to us on many an occasion and done a lot of good in the world. So thoughts and prayers are with the Carter family. And I'm just sending out love to all of you, because that's what we do, y'all. We rock the love. So let's do it all week. See you next week. Bye.
Bye now.